Ladies and gentlemen, the Network for Teaching Entrepreneurship is a global nonprofit that works across 30 states in the US and 27 countries around the world to teach young people how to launch businesses. And about 2 years ago, on the heels of ChatGPT coming out, I said to myself as CEO of our organization, I highly suspect that as we head into our business plan competitions, we are going to see young people using GPT and other AI tools in their business plans and to create their business models. Because one thing we know is that young people lead the way. They always do when it comes to new technologies. And it was in fact the case. So here we have two gentlemen who each have created their own separate businesses, one focused on the world of fairness and employment, one focused on public health and responding to urgent medical crises, who have come through two different parts of the NFTE programming. Saket, let me start with you. Tell the crowd a little bit about who you are and your business.
Yeah, so my name is Saket Pathak. I'm a 16-year-old high school sophomore, and my business is called InclusifyIQ, which is a comprehensive platform that focuses more on the inclusion aspects of organizations, such as companies and schools. And these companies and schools would be the actual adapters of InclusifyIQ, where the users of the platform would be students and also employees who interact with the different AI tools. And these AI tools in InclusifyIQ are meant to help figure out and identify inclusion issues that happen in organizations and also give recommendation strategies to mitigate them. So I can give you an example. One of the key features of InclusifyIQ is unconscious and conscious bias detection. So it uses natural language processing algorithms to do this. So let's just say that you were in an organization conducting an interview for a new candidate for a position, and you're writing to your boss how that interview went. So you would write something, for example, John was a good candidate for someone from that background. Uh-oh, what does that sound like? It sounds like unconscious bias. And so the InclusifyIQ bias detection algorithm would be able to identify that this statement doesn't sound right and also give a recommendation to fix this and make it sound better so it doesn't maybe offend anyone. And so the inspiration of InclusifyIQ really came from examples of inclusion that I was seeing all around me. So for example, in my own school, there's a student who's in a wheelchair, and he was not being included in activities, group activities that he could have been doing. And even with my own aunt, who is in the software engineering workplace, who has equal experience with her coworkers, but she was telling me that despite her experience, she was always being overshadowed due to the fact that she was a woman in STEM and a woman of color, which resulted in her getting many mental health issues. And so I realized that today, the traditional ways to actually help with inclusion, such as courses and training programs, they only go so far, and they're not very measurable in what they do. And that is what InclusifyIQ is trying to do. We're trying to help measure inclusion to make sure that they actually work in real settings.
Such a helpful tool. And Pratham, your tool equally helpful. Now, you came through a nifty program called the World Series of Innovation, which is a global competition where students submit their ideas that are aligned to one or of the different sustainable development goals. Talk about your business, which is incredibly, incredibly innovative.
Yeah, so I'm Pratham Muriki. I go to the Valley Christian High School in San Jose, and I'm 17. And my business is called SamariAID. And it basically all started when my team and I came across this one statistic. We found out that about up to 150,000 people die in pre-hospital deaths each year because of first aid, like a lack of first aid knowledge. So to mitigate this, we came up with SamariAID. SamariAID is basically an AI-based mobile application that provides universal first aid access by one, identifying the wound, and two, providing step-to-step simple instructions that the user can use to stabilize the wound. So with SamariAID, our goal is for the user to open the application and just open the SamariAID application so they can just scan their wound. And after scanning it, SamariAID uses its extensive database that we're using to train the model and a convolutional neural network, which basically is a photo recognition software, but we're adapting it to certain specific clinical features, like the color of the wound, the shape, the blood, the type of tissue, and more. So using those features, we can identify the exact first aid wound that the user has, and we can provide like personalized, tailored instructions based on that. And to get those instructions, we're basically gathering a lot of data from reputable sources, like, for example, the Mayo Clinic. If you go on their website, they have so much instructional data on how to treat first aid wounds. Like basically every single type, they have a detailed explanation on what to do to prevent blood loss and to prevent the wound from getting worse. So we can easily gather that data through like a web scraper, and we can sort that data through an NLP model. So we can basically transfer that data, put it into an NLP model, and the NLP model will give us instructions that a user can understand clearly. And we put that instructions into like a clear database and send it out into the app. So once the user has these instructions, they can go through our like really simple user face, and they can stabilize that either themselves or somebody else that's near them. So for example, one of the target markets we came up with is hikers. A lot of hikers are experienced and they do know first aid, but they're isolated, and if they do need external help, they have to wait a long time for paramedics or anyone else to come and help them. And if they are going into like a pair or a group, somebody else can pull out their phone, quickly scan the wound, follow the instructions, and the whole goal is to stabilize that wound till the paramedics arrive. One analogy I've commonly used to describe what SamariAID exactly does really quickly is, you know how paramedics and EMTs, their whole purpose is to keep the patient alive till they get to the hospital so the hospital can treat them. SamariAID's goal is to provide the knowledge, the first aid knowledge, to keep the patient alive till the paramedics arrive.
Both such incredible innovations. Now, I want to ask you, because here in this room, I suspect there are a lot of AI supporters and evangelists, but as you know, not everybody is in support of it. There's a spectrum of views about it. And I wonder, as you were developing your businesses, your concepts, your prototyping, and you were first incorporating AI into the concept, how did it work out? Was it good at first blush? Did you need to make improvements? Walk us through that process of developing the business and how good the AI was as you were first starting out. Saket, go ahead.
Yeah, that's a great question, actually. Especially nowadays, there's many, I guess, concerns about AI, how some people fear, maybe AI might take over my job. Other people fear that AI might have some data concerns or some privacy concerns. So when I was developing InclusifyIQ, I did indeed keep this in mind, that maybe data privacy was one of the biggest things that people might have a fear over. And that's something that we don't want. We don't want people to fear using our product, then that wouldn't work out. And so when developing InclusifyIQ, I made sure that we were able to use a large amounts of different data that was able to be validated, that was not biased itself, and that would actually be able to work for the different settings that we were able to use it for. And so going through the different processes from developing the actual models to refining them, I realized that the AI aspect has so much more potential to actually grow and become more better. And that's one more thing that I was thinking, that maybe in the future for InclusifyIQ, doing more data training and incorporating more different diverse types of data would actually be able to reduce any biases that may happen.
Pratham, how about you? Where was the AI really good and where was it less good at first blush?
So yeah, with SamariAID, we all came, my team and I, when we found the problem of like a lack of first aid access, we weren't sure what the solution would be. But we know since this problem is so old and it's been here for a long time, no current technology or something that's been here for a while could solve that. So then we turned to AI. We hope that we could use the AI's capabilities to bridge that gap between the knowledge that people with first aid training and people who don't have first aid training. We hope to bridge that gap. So once we started doing interviews and contacting people who already knew first aid and didn't, and who was willing to utilize SamariAID and such, one thing we found out was that a lot of people prefer to use artificial intelligence as an assistance tool rather than just solely focusing on it. For SamariAID to be your sole companion and 100% accuracy on identifying wounds and providing accurate instructions, it's unrealistic to do that with current technology, with all the hallucinations and all the complexifications with AI. We hope to eventually strive and get there one day. But as of right now, our goal is to provide it as an assistance feature, because through other research we've done and we've read articles about 70% of people aren't willing to actually help out when somebody's hurt, in the case that they might make it worse. In that case, all they can do is they can pull out SamariAID and they can feel that confidence that most likely 99% accuracy that SamariAID will help them and will provide them with the knowledge and assistance that they need, so they can use their own first aid knowledge, which might be rusty and such, to use SamariAID.
Now I'm curious, each of you chose to make AI at the heart of your business, but you didn't have to do that. You could have had a business that's about promoting fairness and equity in the workplace without using AI. You could have proposed a business that sought to treat wounds better, that didn't have AI at the heart of it. What made you make that choice? Were you using AI in your daily lives or at school already? And say a little bit about what you think AI could and should be used for, not just in entrepreneurship like you have, but generally in school. Saket, go ahead.
That's a great question. So actually, my own background with AI started from in the pandemic. I mean, I was just a kind of bored kid, not really having much to do when it was COVID-19 lockdown. And so at that time, AI hype was starting to get more and more. There were more advancements and topics that were coming along in AI. And so I was seeing these different AI talks and these AI courses about how AI could, potentially revolutionize different fields. And so I think that AI specifically is going to be big, and it's going to be able to revolutionize a lot of fields in the future. And the reason that I feel like AI is actually able to help more than just going through a traditional route is how it's able to learn by itself and train itself in ways that maybe other traditional sources or solutions and humans don't exactly know. And I feel like that's something that is really powerful that in the future will most definitely happen with AI.
Pratham, how about you?
Yeah, so I'm not in the similar stage. I didn't know too much about AI beforehand, but I knew that this was new technology and I've heard of it. I've used ChatGPT a lot. And I genuinely think that AI will benefit the education industry a lot, partially like how computers did. Computers, when they first started and they entered the education industry, there was a lot of backlash about, people can cheat and etc. But at the end of the day, now they provide a lot of tools and assistance and they make education much simpler and easier. And they've completely revolutionized the education industry in the last 20, 30 years. So I think AI will be something similar to that, where instead of teachers giving like mundane tasks that you can just put into ChatGPT and get like an essay or whatever out, teachers will be forced to have more assignments that are more thought-provoking and can't just easily be put into ChatGPT and given some response that anyone could have thought of.
So I know we have just a couple of minutes left, but I know that this audience and all the people here are significantly composed of people who may have their own AI-based education products and who want to invest in that domain. So I'm going to utilize you for the benefit of our audience as a little focus group of two. Give some advice to our spectators here. If EdTech entrepreneurs want to reach the youth market, what advice would you have for them? Saket.
Well, I feel like today, students are always up to date with the latest technologies that are being used. I know all of my classmates are using ChatGPT in their everyday lives for a wide range of tasks. And so some advice that I would give to the educators would be to stay on top of the new latest advancements and the technologies that are arising, because you never know when there's an opportunity that could be there where it would be able to actually help in the edtech space.
Yeah, I completely agreed with what Saket said. And to add on to that, I think if you are talking about like new products that should be introduced to like the student population, I think the most effective, me personally, and I know with my peers, would be products that are more focused on like the creative aspect, we have ChatGPT and a lot of these large AI models that can provide us with content and simple, like if we have questions about anything, we can get like paragraphs out and learn the content that way. But we don't have as many products that are focused on the creative aspect. If we are trying to brainstorm for a business, if you're trying to come up with some problems that you want to solve for a class, ChatGPT is available, but its limitations, there are a lot of limitations with that. If there was other products focused on the creative aspect, it would be a lot more beneficial to students.
Thank you so much. And I'd like to validate what you just said, because once again, ladies and gentlemen, I think that when it comes to artificial intelligence, and let's just not talk about ChatGPT, let's talk about augmented reality and virtual reality. Let's talk about social media. Let's talk about the Internet of Things. Let's talk about industrial AI and how students need to begin learning about it. It's clear that whether education systems want it or not, or realize it or not, students are already incorporating it into their day-to-day. And so we need to follow their lead. And moreover, I think you heard from our two young entrepreneurs that they understand how to utilize it responsibly in a way that advances academics. And by the way, I'll just add, in addition to the two of you whose projects I've gotten to know, I see nifty students all around the world utilizing artificial intelligence to help them brainstorm, to help them get unstuck when they're grappling with a problem. I've seen it help students with limited English proficiency improve their writing. I've seen them use it not only as the core of business ideas, but to put together interesting presentation aspects and artistry into their presentations using visual websites powered by AI. So the possibilities are truly limitless. And on behalf of the Network of Teaching Entrepreneurship, I would like to say we're looking forward to seeing what our students are doing next, because they will continue to power the way forward and show us how AI can be responsibly and productively used in our education systems in the US and around the world. With that, let's have a big round of applause for our two student entrepreneurs, and thank you very much.